104.5 The Team, your home for New York Yankees baseball. And, of course, every Thursday we talk to our good friend Buster Olney. I get the impression, Buster, that you'd rather avoid this call this week.
You know what drives me nuts is that I know that there's a time not long ago when the Yankees were losing games, you were jumping off the bandwagon, and you were like, that's it, I can't stand it, they're losing. And now that they made this big trade, a perfect trade for their time and their place right now, all of a sudden you're grabbing the steering wheel of the bandwagon.
Well, point of clarity, I never jump off. I just complain about being on. I live on the Yankee bandwagon. A big trade for the Capital Region, because not only do you get Todd Frazier, which means the Sox don't get their third baseman, not only do you bring back High Sox David Robertson, but Latham's own Tommy Kahnle now joins the Yankees.
Yeah, Tommy Kahnle, who's I thought should have been an American League All-Star. Going into that appearance yesterday, 60 strikeouts and 36 innings. It becomes part of what I think is the deepest bullpen that I've ever seen, and I think that he and Dellin Betances, they ought to make a new title for the role that those guys now fill. But it's been interesting too, because now he's moved from the White Sox to the Yankees. Everyone's digging up this clip with LaTroy Hawkins. Talking about, it's now all over the internet, LaTroy Hawkins talking about how Tommy Kahnle was the worst teammate that he ever had because they had a fight in the past. When you move to the big city, that's part of it.
Buster Olney with us. Now, I saw some of the stuff that you were tweeting out the night that the trade is going down. You even though this is, as you put it, a Kansas City-type bullpen, you don't think they're done?
I don't think they're done. I think they're going to be looking for depth-type starting pitchers. And I'm not, I mean, maybe at some point they'll jump in the Sonny Gray thing, but I'm thinking more along the lines of, Lance Lynn of St. Louis, somebody to round out the back end of the rotation, somebody who's not expensive, a rental, because the trade that Brian Cashman made the other day really sets them up for 2018 as well. And for now, their big concern with their rotation, which doesn't have to be dynamic with a bullpen that good, is to just have it be competitive, especially for the first two times through the batting order. So I would expect that they're going to add a starting pitcher. And I also wouldn't rule out the possibility that at the 24th hour, in what is an incredible buyer's market and a terrible seller's market, that some opportunity for a left-handed hitting first baseman could drop into their lap. And if you told me that 1 minute after the trade deadline on July 31st that they have Yonder Alonso in their lineup, that wouldn't totally shock me because it's such a buyer's market. And the Yankees are willing to pay a lot, but I don't think they're going to have to pay a lot.
With it being such a buyer's market, that means the price may be driven up with so many teams wanting to buy. Are the Yankees going to just be in a spot where they're going to be outbid by other franchises for big-time players? No.
I think because the buyer's market, the prices are going to be absolutely crashing. And they already have. You guys saw the other day the trade that went on between the Diamondbacks and the Tigers. You got J.D. Martinez, who just crushes left-handed pitching, went into Sunday's game with a .500 batting average against left-handed pitching, but the Tigers didn't find a lot of interest in him, and they wanted to make sure they placed him so they could get rid of the last $4 or $5 million owed to him. And I think that that's what's going to happen. And GMs I've talked to are seeing the same thing. They're basically saying, look, if you wait, at some point, teams like the Mets, who have Jay Bruce and, would like to dump probably the last 2 months of his contract, Curtis Granderson, Asdrubal Cabrera, you might have a situation where a bunch of teams are saying, look, just take the contract. Please just take the money owed to this guy, and you can have him. And I suspect that's going to be the sort of conversation that, the opportunities the Yankees are going to be looking for.
Buster Olney with us right now on 104.5 The Team. So, Buster, Yankee fans are in a position that we haven't been in, I think, in my entire life, where it's like we want to protect our farm system. Blake Rutherford gone. When you say buyer's market, that doesn't mean that we're going to lose big names in the farm system?
I'd be shocked. The only guy who's out on the market right now who could potentially cost them, or there are two guys potentially that would cost them a big name. One would be Sonny Gray of Oakland, and the last I checked on it, didn't seem like that the Yankees and the Athletics were talking in the same language in terms of demands and what they'd be willing to give up. And the other one would be if Garrett Cole, who of course has a Yankee history, he was originally drafted by the Yankees, decided to go to college, wound up being drafted by the Pirates. If at some point the Pirates put him out there, maybe the Yankees would be interested in him and he would be expensive. But my gut is that because they already dug into their farm system for this bullpen trade, that they're going to work more around the edges before the deadline.
What's the future of Greg Bird now in New York?
Well, I think he's going to have an opportunity next spring to be the first baseman. I don't think that anything the Yankees do between now and the deadline is going to block his path. I know from talking with Brian that Brian, through these injuries, they absolutely believe in Greg Bird's future. They saw how good he was in spring training. When, that anonymous quote came out from someone in the organization saying this guy doesn't want to play, believe me, that did not reflect the overall view of folks within that organization. They love the kid. They love his talent. And let's face it, he's relatively cheap at this stage in his career. So, yes, they traded for Todd Frazier. Yes, it wouldn't shock me if they added, a Yonder Alonso, a Matt Adams before the trade deadline. But I also don't think they're going to do anything to block Greg Bird's path.
Buster, I'm glad you said that. Gaz has been over here telling me that, this is all a sign that Bird is done in New York. So
I'm very, and I'm not going to say anti-Greg Bird. I just am not
anti-Greg Bird.
I'm not as much as the believer as Levack is and maybe other people who are Yankee fans. I'll put it like that.
I do. I'm intrigued by the possibility of what he could do. I mean, what we saw in the rookie year, and forgive me, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think, 11 home runs and 140 at-bats, and then the monster spring training after, having the injury problems last year. He's shown enough for me, and it feels like for the Yankees, which is much more important, that he's someone who could potentially do big damage, especially someone who generates fly balls in Yankee Stadium.
Buster, the Mets now are kind of sliding into the role of sellers, and one of the names that all of a sudden popped up, even though I don't buy it, some Mets fans are nervous about it. Jacob deGrom doesn't leave this team no matter what, right?
I'd be shocked. I mean, first off, if the Mets actually wanted to market Jacob deGrom, I think that would be such a big and complicated trade. I have a hard time believing, unless you had a team like the Dodgers who have a really good farm system, coming up and saying, "Here, take your pick, top 3 prospects." Short of something like that, which I don't think will develop, I got to believe that if they were to ever consider trading him, and they'd wait till the off season. But on top of that, I know from talking with Mets officials that they feel like that the quickest path for them to get back to winning again is through the pitching. And so, as much as it's going to make people roll their eyes, or Mets fans and are sick of all these injuries, their best hope is to bank on Syndergaard and deGrom, and Zach Wheeler and other guys, and hope they all come together for 2018.
We know the New York teams are going to be active, but overall, Major League Baseball, is there 1 to 2, maybe even 3 franchises that are going to be super aggressive as you get closer to the end of the month?
Well, Oakland certainly is right in the middle of it, and we've already seen them make one big deal with the Nationals trading away the 2 relievers, Sean Doolittle, Ryan Madsen. They're going to trade Sonny Gray. That's the expectation. Yonder Alonso is going to go. Jed Lowry is going to go. And this is part of why I say it's absolutely a buyer's market, because when you look at the landscape of the potential buyers, first off, you've got 3 divisions where it's essentially decided. So the Dodgers are sitting there with a very specific need. They want a left-handed reliever. I think they'll be in the conversations for Zach Britton of the Orioles, but they're not out there with a lot of needs. The Houston Astros, huge lead in the American League West. They're out there looking at some pitching. I think they'll be in the Britton conversations. They'll add a left-handed reliever, but not a lot. They're good on the position player side. And the Washington Nationals, now that they've made this deal for relievers, that team is pretty much set. Maybe around the edge they pick up another reliever as prices begin to drop. But among contenders, it doesn't feel like that they're just teams that are, now that we've seen the Yankees make an addition, the Nationals close that or fill that closer's hole, and the Red Sox, I can tell you this, internally they're just sitting back and waiting and saying the third base market's going to come back to them. They're not teams out there just starve for help.
Buster, don't kill the messenger. Home run derby slump going on right now for Aaron Judge?
I will grant you this, okay? I think that part of his slump coming out of the All-Star break is related to the Derby and has nothing to do with his swing. I think that, coincidentally, I was involved in the coverage of the Home Run Derby on Tuesday. You see the energy that's required for players to go through that. It's like running a marathon, right? And then in the first games out of the break in Boston, there's no question that there are times when he looked tired. And I think that Joe Girardi, I know this because I asked him the question on Sunday, and he said, yeah, maybe a little bit, which for Joe, as a man in manager speak, is, yeah, he's tired. And it's the reason why he gave him the day off and held him out of the starting lineup on Wednesday. But I do think that some of the numbers that you saw from Judge are a little bit skewed because I thought his swings were better. His at-bats, generally speaking, were pretty good. And if Jackie Bradley Jr. doesn't make that crazy play on Sunday night, then he's already got a home run.
Buster Olney with us right now, 104.5 The Team. Buster, where are you headed this weekend?
To Chicago. We got the Cubs, resurgent Cubs, 6 straight wins coming out of the All-Star break against the Cardinals, who are right on that the tipping point of that buy or sell question.
If you get a hold of Chris Bryant, you going to tell him to slide feet first?
No, I don't tell Chris Bryant to do anything.
Buster, man, we really appreciate you. And look, I wasn't that bad, was I?
No, I thought I'm surprised. At some point, I thought you were going to come in and say, the greatest trade ever.
No, on the show, my mantra this whole season has been in Cashman I trust. And now, it looks like I look less stupid than usual.
Yeah, it was a great trade. And, every day that Brian's done a great job for the Yankees. And, when we talk about free agents at the end of the year, remember his contract's up. So that's something worth watching.
All right, see, now you just ruined my day.
That's what I was going for.
Buster, you're the best, man.
See ya.
See you guys.